I am a god, and this shows evidence of my race. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the second instalment of the literary sources. So, today we're going to be looking at Imperator. Let's get stuck in. So the first source is Toast to Actium by Horace from 30 BC. Now, Horace was actually good friends with Octavian, so it's likely that a lot of his works were biased towards Augustus. With you in Caesar's triumph, drinking Caecuban cellared for festive banquets, as lately when Pompey, driven from the sea, had fled with his ships destroyed. A Roman, you'll not credit it, posterity, sadly upsticks and arms himself. So again, this is reference to the Battle of Naulochus and also future Actium. Hail triumph! Why delay the golden chariots and the unblemished steers? Hail triumph! In the war with Jugurtha, you never returned such a general to us, nor with Africanus, whose courage made a tomb for himself of Carthage such. These are in reference, Africanus and Jugurtha, to foreign wars. Jugurtha and Africanus were the leaders of those wars against the Romans. Bring more spacious bowls, lad, and pour the Chian, Lesbian, or Caecuban wine. That's designed to prevent all seasick qualms. Let's delight in banishing fear and anxiety at Caesar's affairs with sweet wine. Now, this is referencing the festive banquets, the triumphs that happened after victories. So Augustus returned victorious from Actium, defeated Cleopatra and Mark Antony, and they drink deep. The next source is Cleopatra, again by Horace, this time in 23 BC. While a maddened queen was still plotting the capitals in the empire's ruin, with her crowd of deeply corrupted creatures sick with turpitude, she, violent with hope of all kinds and intoxicated by fortune's favour, but it calmed her frenzy that scarcely a single ship escaped the flames, and Caesar reduced to distracted thoughts, bred by neurotic wine, to true fear, pursuing her close as she fled from Rome, out to capture that deadly monster, bind her, as the sparrow-hawk follows the gentle dove, or the swift hunter chases the hare over the snowy plain of Thessaly. But she, intending to perish more nobly, shoved no sign of womanish fear at the sword, nor did she even attempt to win with her speedy ships to some hidden shore. And she dared to gaze at her fallen kingdoms with calm face, and touch the poisonous asps with courage, so that she might drink down their dark venom to the depths of her heart, growing fiercer still, and resolving to die, scorning to be taken by hostile galleys, and no ordinary woman, yet queen, no longer be led along in proud triumph. So there's a lot to say about this one. The first thing would be that they make Cleopatra out to be, in the beginning, a bit of a witch. She's Horace likes to sympathise with Antony, makes him seem like that Cleopatra enchanted him. But in the second half, Horace changes his attitude, and he starts to refer to Cleopatra as no sign of womanish fear. So she's acting like a soldier. She's showing stoicism, which is an important part of being Roman. So she, I don't know, that might be reference to spending time with Antony. Maybe he taught her, stoicism, or maybe Horace is actually looking up to her as some sort of role model. Not quite, but almost. And we also have, later on when I do videos on the Aeneid, we can draw parallels between Cleopatra and Dido, who was the queen of Carthage, and Octavian or Augustus. We can draw parallels to Aeneas, who is the main protagonist of the Aeneid. The next source is Augustus Returns, again by Horace, same 23 BC. O citizens conquering Caesar is home from the Spanish shores, who, like Hercules now, was said to be seeking that laurel that's bought at the price of death. So this is in reference to the Spanish campaigns. They defeated the Spanish once, and Augustus came back, It was all very triumphy and lots of partying. But the fighting came back. The Spanish uprose again, and it was Agrippa that time that had to go back into Spain and put them in their place, so to speak, once and for all. So this is just referencing that Caesar is, Augustus rather, is on the front lines, which he wasn't for most of them, although he was in the front lines or not far behind for quite a lot of them. But it's showing that he's out there, he's leading his own armies. The next source is the Carmen Seculari by Horace from 17 BC. Now the Parthians fear our forces, powerful on land and on sea. They fear the Alban axes. Now the once proud Indians, now the Scythians, beg for an answer. So this is in reference to the Parthian war. Wasn't really a war in the end. Augustus actually had to go back and debate them for the standards back. He had to negotiate for the standards back. But this is, as Horace was friends with Augustus, this is a bit of propaganda to say that everyone outside the Roman Empire is very much afraid of them, and they're not going to mess with them, so the people should feel safe. Moving on is Woman's Power by Propertius in 23 BC. Truly that whore, queen of incestuous Canopus, a fiery brand burned by the blood of Philip, dared to oppose our Jupiter with yapping Anubis, and forced Tiber to suffer the threats of the Nile. The city, high on its 7 hills that directs the whole earth, was terrified of woman's power and fearful of her threats. Celebrate a triumph, Rome, and saved by Augustus, beg long life for him, be mindful of Caesar through all the Ionian Sea. So this is just referencing Battle of Actium again. People were afraid of Cleopatra, but Augustus was their saviour. The next one is War and Peace by Propertius from 20 BC. Caesar, our god, plots war against rich India, cutting the straits in his fleet across the pearl-bearing ocean. Men, the rewards are great. Far lands prepare triumph. Tiber and Euphrates will flow to your tune. Too late, but that province will come under Ausonian wands. Parthia's trophies will get to know Latin Jupiter. Go, get going, proud experts in battle. Set sail, and armoured horses do your accustomed duty. I sing you auspicious omens, and avenge that disaster of Crassus. Go and take care of Roman history. So this is recalling back to when Crassus lost all his army and the standards. Very embarrassing, and Augustus is the one that's going to take the standards back and bring Rome back into its full power, and people are going to respect them again. The next is Chaste and Faithful Galla by Propertius, 20 BC. Posthumus, how could you leave Galla crying to follow Augustus's brave standard as a soldier? Was the glory of Parthia spoils worth so much to you, with Galla repeatedly begging you not to do it? Posthumus will be another Ulysses with a wifely wonder, such long delay did him no harm. Not in vain, since his wife stayed chaste at home, Aelia Gallia will outdo Penelope's loyalty. So this is referencing the Odyssey. Ulysses is the Roman name for Odysseus, and Penelope is his wife. So this is just lamenting about, all the lonely wives that will be left when Augustus and his men march off to war. The next is Temple of Palatine Apollo by Propertius, 16 BC. I'm only going to run through this because really you could actually use the whole poem for Imperator, because it's all about the Battle of Actium. So if we start sort of in the middle, the enemy fleet was doomed by Trojan Quirinius, deified Romulus, and the shameful javelins fit for a woman's hands. There was Augustus' ships, sails filled with Jupiter's favour, standards now skillful in victory for their country. So this is recalling back. Augustus got the standards back, and he's got all the gods on his side, and he's going against Antony and Cleopatra. What sort of triumphs would one woman make in the streets where Jugurtha was once led? Bacchus, you are used to being an inspiration to Apollo. So Bacchus, or Dionysus, the god of wine, that's who Antony tried to replicate, and Apollo was Augustus's god that he tried to replicate. Next is Metamorphoses by Ovid, 8 AD. This is the deification of Julius Caesar. Augustus, as heirs to his name, will carry the burden placed upon him alone, and will have us with him in battle as the most courageous avenger of his father's murder. Under his command, the conquered walls of besieged Mutina will sue for peace. Wherever earth contains habitable land, it will be his, and even the sea will serve him. So this is really quite egotistical. It's saying even the sea, which is obviously controlled by Neptune, Augustus is going to rule it. So essentially, at this point, he's above the gods. He's above Julius Caesar. He was above Julius Caesar from the beginning, and now he's either in line with the gods or he's above them. Next is the Res Gestae Divi Augusti. Augustus wrote this himself as obituary. Again, like the Palatine Apollo, I'm just going to run through it because it's just him listing off everything that he did in his life. So he drove the assassins into exile. He twice earned ovations and 3 times celebrated curuli triumphs. The whole of Italy swore allegiance to him. He added Egypt to the empire, and he defeated the Parthians. He compelled them to return the standards. So this is just basically a shopping list of all his amazing deeds. So the next is, the last actually, is the lives of the 12 Caesars. Suetonius, 121 AD, Augustus 9. This is a really long one, so like the others, I'm just going to run through some of it. So the first bit's about Augustus hired assassins to murder Antony when he first fled the state. And then when people found out what he did, he had to raise a force of veterans to protect himself. Augustus did actually lead his troops, but he was a soldier as well. And he shouldered the standards for quite some time in one of the campaigns. There were rumours spread that Augustus engineered the fate of Hirtius and Pansa, who were the acting consuls at the time, meaning that Augustus could take control of the armies. He was around in Brundisium. There was obviously the Treaty of Brundisium, where the lands were split between the triumvirate, and he did actually capture Alexandria at 30 BC. So like I said earlier, he was only in the leading command of 2 foreign campaigns, which was Dalmatia and the Cantabrian campaign. And like I said, the other wars were conducted by his generals, but he wasn't far behind in a lot of them from the front line. And lastly, Augustus had quite a lot of rebellions rise up, but he refrained from killing people or whatever. He just he sent them into exile, or he put them into slavery instead. So he had a reputation for being moderate with his power, which was a good use of stoicism. So this has been the second instalment of the literary sources. Next time we'll be looking at Augustus as a religious leader. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.